Okay, so Logan has been out for 3 days now, and that means everyone's had a chance to watch it, right? If not, what are you doing? Get out there, watch Logan, come back. This is a spoiler talk for the movie Logan, starring Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart, but you already knew that. This is the last Wolverine adventure we are ever getting from Hugh Jackman, and my god, it goes out with a bang. Now, I did a spoiler-free review, so if you haven't seen the movie and you've accidentally clicked on this will be filled to the brim with spoilers for Logan. So check out my spoiler-free review, which I will leave a link in the description for, so you can see that. For now, let's talk full-on spoilers for Logan. And let's just start off to say, yeah, this is definitely a hard, adult-rated X-Men movie, if you can call it an X-Men movie, because, like I said, it feels very different from the X-Men movies, and I'll talk about why. But it starts off straight away, and these thugs are trying to rob Logan's limousine. He's a limousine driver. He's trying to get money because he needs to get pills for Charles Xavier, who is, he's got like dementia and some like medical problems. He's losing his mind, so Logan's having this this part-time job to get this money for his meds. So he's got this limousine. These people are trying to rob it, and straight away he's like, I really wouldn't do that. I don't want to have to do this, but then he gets his claws and he's like slicing these guys up, cuts this guy's arm off. He has a shotgun, like fires the shot, and he's just killing all these dudes. And it starts off, and you're like, yeah, this is the Wolverine movie. This is the Wolverine movie we've been waiting for. This is the Wolverine movie we deserve. And this movie just is pure awesome. So yeah, and then we go on to find out that Logan's living on the Mexican border. He's keeping Charles in this big sort of water tower, and he's living with Caliban. And Caliban's saying to him, this isn't enough. You're not getting enough meds for Charles. He's having these seizures. You can't stop them with just these meds. And we see him have one of his seizures, and it completely stops Caliban, and he's just like, oh shit. And it's like, he's like, yeah, I couldn't breathe. If it had gone on for any longer, I would have died. And it just shows what a decaying state Charles is in. And Logan as well, but mostly Charles at this point in the story. Because, we've grown to love this character. Patrick Stewart's so good at playing the role, and the fact that he's not going to play him anymore after this kind of sucks, but you can see why. And, straight away we look at him, we're like, yeah, this is really upsetting, because we've grown up with these two characters. Logan's lost his healing factor, Charles is, insane in the brain, so it's like, it's something completely different to what we've seen. And, we find out he's like on his wheelchair and he's going around and he's just saying nonsense. And it's like, yeah, this is hard to watch at this point. But, we find out that Charles still has the old Xavier in him. But, they're all run down. When you hear Charles say the word fuck, at first you're like, whoa, that is something I've not heard before from Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier. But hearing it from him in this movie and seeing the state that they are both in, you're like, yeah, I can totally see why he's doing it. But yeah, so the story follows on, and Elizabeth Rodriguez's character is trying to get hold of Logan. Logan's at some sort of funeral, and she gets a hold of him, and she's like, yeah, I need you to do this thing for me. And he's like, hey, I just can't. But she offers him a lot of money. And obviously he needs that money to look after Charles, so he goes there and he finds out that she wants Logan to take this young girl who we find out is X-23. Her name is Laura, and she wants Logan to take her to this place called Eden, which we're not sure if it exists or not. And what's really cool is that the comic books actually are part of this X-Men universe now, because there's comics written about Wolverine. We get to see him in his yellow suit in a comic book, and we look at the comic and it's like, hey, this is actually, it's really clever the way they've done it, because they've incorporated actual comic books into the story in a way. And it's like, we've shown this place Eden, and it's part of the comic, and we find out that the place actually does exist, but Logan's sort of disputing it. Like, we've been, led on some wild goose chase thing. This chick's, just trying to get rid of her daughter on me. And it's like, but we find out that this little girl is actually Wolverine or Logan's daughter, which, is really clever and really cool. Because we see that Wolverine's DNA has been used in her. We see the sort of, it's like the Weapon X program, but it's kind of different. They're making clones, extra. They're making new mutants out of children, and we're seeing how they've built these children to be killing machines, which is different from mutants because they were born and not made, but these mutants were made, born and then made, so it's it's different to what we've seen from X-Men before as well in that sense. So that was really cool to see. While it was kind of brutal and hard to watch as well, that was cool to see that it's something completely different. And Logan's obviously pissed about this, So we're seeing how they're all made and everything, and then he meets this little girl, X-23, in the end, and there's these government suits after her, and they're like, yeah, we need the girl, and that's when this really cool action scene happens, you know. Logan tries to leave her in the house, or the little Mexican border thing they're on, and he tries to escape, and they manage to capture Caliban, but X-23 is not having it. She slaughters all these dudes, and we get to see more cool action. And when the action happens, it really hits. It doesn't happen that often. It's not like the main part of the movie. When it happens, it really happens, and it's awesome. So yeah, then the movie turns into a bit of a road trip after this point. You know, Caliban's captured, and we think he's presumably killed. He's not. He gets like tortured for information because he's like an albino mutant. Stephen Merchant did the fucking played the character so well. It was really cool. But we get to see his like skin all burnt and stuff, and it's like, yeah, this again is really brutal. But we see this road trip happen, and this is where it kind of dips down, slows down a little bit. There was a really awesome scene that happens in a casino, which involves Charles having another seizure because Logan goes out, you know, and he leaves the little girl, Laura, to look after Charles and says, you know, give him these meds. But she doesn't because he has the meds. He accidentally, you know, they fell out in the limo or whatever. So she finds the insulin shot, but before she can give it to him, you know, he's having this seizure and he's stopped like all the mutants in time, including, you know, Laura and these government agents that are after them, because these government agents are like broken into. They found out where they are, so they've broken into this casino, and it's one of the coolest action scenes in the entire film, if not the coolest. We see Logan coming up the stairs. He knows what's going on. He retracts those claws out, but everything's all like slow motion, and like his claws dig into the wall, and he's like killing these dudes. You remember that shot in the trailer, the international trailer, where he just like he punches the guy with his claws like through the chin, and it just goes straight through the back of his head. This is that scene, and it happens all in slow motion, and it is amazing. You know, this film's very visually impressive, and that was one of the most visually impressive parts of the film, and that was really awesome to see. But yeah, I mean, things take a bit of a slower turn after this. They go on this road trip, and they meet this other family. I mean, it's nice, it's kind of cute and everything, you know, seeing them interact with this other family, and Charles has his little speech where he's like, this is what life looks like, people who love each other. But this is when, at first I found this kind of silly, but I see why they've done it now, and I'll talk about it. So this is, you know, one of the heavier parts of the film. So we see Charles, and he's presumably talking to Logan, but he's not. It's actually a clone of Logan, so it's X-24. And he's played again by Hugh Jackman. He looks exactly like him. He has the same, you know, bone structure and the claws and everything, the adamantium. But this version is absolutely indestructible, because obviously we know that the actual Logan is losing his healing powers. This one is indestructible, and he ends up killing Charles, because Charles thinks he's talking to Logan. He's not. So he stabs him through the chest, and Charles is sort of still alive. You think, yeah, he's definitely going to die because of that shot in the trailer, and I'm a little annoyed about the trailer, kind of. The ending scene, I feel like a vital scene from the ending was put in the trailer, but this scene is the one that really gave everything away. And it was a scene where X-23 and Logan are like at a grave, and they have a shovel. Well, Logan's holding a shovel and they're holding hands, and that is the scene where Charles is killed. I mean, obviously we never know how he was killed, and it was a nice surprise to see X-24 in this movie and everything like that. I think he's a character completely made up for the movie, but whatever. So yeah, we knew that, you know, Charles would die. We didn't know that he'd die in this way, but I feel like if they hadn't had that shot in the trailer, I mean, it was kind of guessable that he would anyway, because it was Patrick Stewart's last movie. He's really old now. But what I'm saying is, I feel like if they hadn't put that shot in the trailer, it would have been at least a guessing game as to whether he will or not. But we knew he definitely would because of that. But yeah, there's a really cool fight scene. And it's like Logan and then Logan in his prime fighting each other. It's like old man Logan versus the Wolverine as we know and love him, just clashing, you know. And it is crazy, you know, all this whole family just gets slaughtered by him. And you know, it's absolutely insane. And then from there, the movie, it gets really deep, really heavy, and it's just like one of the most emotional films I've seen for such a long time because of these last final scenes. So after that, we think that this clone X-24 has been killed. He hasn't. Caliban, you know, all the government suits are still after X-23 and Logan. So Caliban blows up the van that he's being held captured in. We think everyone's dead. They're not. They go after them, and then we reach Eden, and this is one of the coolest climatic battle sequences ever, but at the same time one of the saddest. So X-24's there. He's taken out, like, so there's all these other mutants as well. So Logan sort of gets, knocked out and everything, and we're thinking, yeah, he's very weak at this point. And all these young children, these young mutants, so these are the last of the mutants, they're looking after him and everything. And there's a big battle sequence. Some of their powers were really generic. Like, there was, like, ice powers and powers where they could use, like, tornadoes to... Like, there was a really cool bit where they had, like, bark off the trees and they, like, sort of tornadoed it into this, like, man, and he was, like, all covered in it and it explodes. It was really cool, but at the same time, it was kind of, like... They were kind of cliche powers, but I get why. Because if they're built in a lab, obviously they're going to be given these powers that are easy to sort of, you know what I mean? Like, sort of X-Men powers that we've seen before. If they're made in a lab, obviously they're going to have pretty simple powers. So that was fine. But yeah, so Logan fights X-24, and this is like the final battle. So he picks him up and throws him into a tree. And we're thinking, yeah, Hugh Jackman, man, how is he going to recover from this one? I hope he does. I really hope he does. But I don't see how he can. Spoiler alert, he doesn't. So, basically, for the whole movie, Logan's been carrying around this adamantium bullet so he can kill himself. And it's a sad thing to think about, because he's old now. It makes sense that he's lived all these years. It makes sense that he wants to die, but at the same time, we're thinking it's a really sad thing to think about. But yeah, so he's been carrying around this adamantium bullet, and X-23 shoots it at X-24, the clone of Logan, and it kills him. It goes through his head and explodes his head. And it's like, okay, so is Logan going to survive this? And we see them sitting down by this tree. And this is where things get really sad. She's holding his hand and she calls him daddy. Once she calls him daddy, I was thinking, no, I couldn't hold it back. There were tears going down my face and I was like, fuck, this is the first time I've cried at an X-Men movie, and it is the saddest superhero movie I've seen in my entire life. I know what's coming, and it comes. Logan does die. And it's just so sad because we've seen this little girl grow up from one movie, and it's like we've not really seen such a good development for a character, because at first she doesn't talk or anything, she's a mute, and then she starts talking in Spanish and English. So it's like we've seen her sort of develop as a character as the movie went on, and seeing her, it's like, what it is that, like Logan and X-23, they're like not really a developed, cinematic couple, whatever you want to call it. Not a couple, they're father, you know what I mean? The father and daughter dynamic, it's there, and it's surprising because most superhero movies, or most movies in general, that will have that sort of dynamic in one movie, it doesn't really feel real, and in this one it does. And then when she calls him daddy and like she's like, daddy, no, it's like, no, I can't handle this. You can't hold it back at that point. If you can, you're a strong person, and I salute you for that. But yeah, the very final shot is so symbolic and so beautiful. So like the cross that you have on a grave, she turns it to the side and it makes an X symbol, and it's just like, whoa. Yeah. So it was a perfect ending. It was such a perfect ending scene. It was the most perfect ending scene I could have hoped for. And I absolutely love this movie. I love the symbolism. Like, at first, like I said, I thought X-24 was kind of dumb, kind of a stupid idea. But I love the symbolism of Wolverine, like, his past has come back to haunt him, and in the end it's his past self that kills him, and it's like, yeah, I love that idea, and I think it was executed really well. And at the end of the day, I absolutely love Logan. It's one of the finest, if not the finest, comic book to movie adaptations I have ever seen, and I highly recommend everyone go and see this movie ASAP. But if you've watched this video, you probably already have. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think of Logan down in the comments below. I'm going to say, have you seen it? Of course you've seen it. You're watching this video. I said that twice now. But yeah, what do you think of it? Let me know. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.